Yadi Shama Aze, Yadi Deletian, Benjamin Hale Honishet, Kitluchini Neshle, Toto Quanja Bashes Chin, Toetsoni Dash Che, Kia Ani Dashanali. What I explained there in my language, I introduced myself. I'm called Benjamin Hale. And in my Navajo tribal system, we have a clan that we're born into. And today we're labeled as Indians. But that term Indians is kind of questioned a lot when people are looking at being politically correct, because there's other Indian people around the world, people in what used to be called Hindustani, back when the Eastern Indians, and there's a lot of stories of how we became labeled with that. Navajo is not even from my own culture. It comes from our interactions with the Spaniards. It's an old Spanish term. We all have our own name for ourselves in our own language. The people that are called Navajos today are known to themselves as Dene, and Dene translates literally into the people into English translation. And what I have here in front of me is symbolisms of God's creation, symbolisms of my ancestors using their common sense, their intelligence, to choose to look at all these elements as the Creator's gifts, and seeing them as gifts, they chose to use their intelligence to enhance their lives in the way of utilizing the plant, animal, insect world, understanding that the opposites of the fire and the water can be used together to find some type of balance, as well as the earth, the land, and the air. Those four elements, we say, are the two extreme opposites of each other. But a lot of interaction happens within that balance. And in our traditional teachings, they say that when you find that balance in any extreme, that's where the Creator exists. Most tribal groups, if they don't have it available or in existence today, at one time their tribe was separated into societies, clan systems. They were I guess you might say in those societies for a reason, and those reasons, like my clan system, so biological reasons, DNA reasons, social reasons. Why, when I meet somebody of the opposite sex, if I was to meet a young lady like my wife today, in our traditional ways, our teaching says, first thing I'm supposed to ask her is, what clan are you? And then if she happens to be the same clan as my mother's clan, then I can't look at her that way. I can't hold her hand or take her out on a date. I can't have those kind of thoughts about her, because even if she's not biologically related to me, she's my sister. So I can't socialize with her in that way. I have to treat her like a biological sister, even if our parents never even met. So in that way, our clan system goes real deep, goes way back into our history. And for those kind of reasons, those value systems clash with our value systems in our general society today. I have interactions with the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health. They don't open up with a prayer. They don't. They might introduce themselves around the table, but if I introduced myself in my language, my clan system, it wouldn't have much value there. What they're interested in is my education, my job title, what I do in life, what kind of certificates and diplomas I might have. So that's the difference in our value system. That if I was the most educated person with the PhD, and I went back home in my ceremonial setting and I sat within my family ceremonies with the elders in there, that PhD wouldn't have much merit in that ceremony, especially if I didn't know much about my own traditional ways. So that kind of gives you an idea of the two different value systems that a person like myself has to learn to deal with and to balance in their everyday life. Myself, I was born and raised here in Los Angeles, so I was very fortunate to have parents who came from traditional teachings, traditional families, and they sought out other traditional families, not only from our Navajo people, but from other tribal groups from all over Indian country, the southern plains, the northern plains, all the way to the eastern seaboard, down to the southeast, on all the way back here to the west coast, all the way up into the northwest coast, up until Alaska. Some of our relatives in our creation stories say we come from a linguistic family, and that's how a lot of us tribes can relate to one another and find our relatives, where we came from, and our origin stories have all of that within it. And so you could say that our history book is like what you're seeing here in front of me, and only through ceremonies, through our songs, through storytelling, a verbal tradition, are you able to learn that, are you able to understand it, our relationship with the world around us, our environment. So those are the kind of things that are of value to my people. When we met up with a great change that was happening with the coming of the non-Indian person, which I will refer to as the Euro-American. They had depleted a lot of their source of many of their environment, like the animal world. So at that time, furs and pelts were very valuable to those leaders, the kings and queens. And they say that during that time, all of their animals were almost being hunted to extinction. So when they came to this area, this very ancient culture that existed and already had trade routes, already had traditional language, traditional foods, we already had a system of our own, what they would classify as a religion, a belief system. They came to this and they called it the New World. It was new to them, but it was very ancient to us.